Hi, Ian Roberts and Mastering Composition. So this week I'm going to show you what happens when you don't plan, or at least when I don't plan. There was a viewer who left a comment saying, you know, I hear you about structure and I hear you about planning, but I'm an abstract painter, and what about me? Do you ever do abstract painting? And you know, I used to decades ago, but so this week I thought what I'd do is just head straight in without any planning and see what happens. And this is the photo that I'm using. This is my wife, Anne, eating her morning toast, looking at the garden, wondering what she's going to work on next out there. And this is the way I cropped it, because that big dark on the left didn't seem very helpful. And I'm not sure when I started off that I knew I could pull it off. It seemed kind of busy to me, all the stuff on the counters. And so I did no drawing, I did no planning other than the cropping of that of the stove off on the left. I did no grid to draw it. I just headed straight in. I have been getting a lot of comments, 300 to 700 a week now, and I've been answering them. But I think, as I said, we're going to go live, and I think what I'm going to do is start taking all the questions and we're just going to consolidate them, and when we go live I'm going to answer them all at one time, because I think it's way more efficient use of our time because every time I make a comment there may only be one person reading it. But please do comment, because I love getting them. Please do like the video if you like it, and please do subscribe, and you can sign up for my email list down below. There's a link. You'll see a line of text that says show more. You click on show more and you'll see all the colors in my palette, where to order my books, and the link to my website. So I'm heading straight into this, and I'll show you you won't see the problems I'm running into as I'm painting, but at the end I'll show you the problems I ran into and the solutions I had to come up with. And normally I don't play music in the studio, it's normally quiet, but this day I was playing music. I was playing the Cologne concert by Keith Jarrett. I love it. And you'll just hear it for the first 10 seconds, and then I shut it off. And no, I don't shut it off while I'm painting, but I shut it off for the video. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you at the end. Bye for now. So there's no grid. That tonal thing is dry. I just put it in really quickly just to kind of get rid of the white canvas and let it dry overnight. It's the next morning. And I'm just drawing, the photograph is over on my left, and I'm just kind of drawing it in, big shapes, trying to figure out where everything is relative to the whole canvas. I find it much easier to do with the grid, but you know, I just was sort of on this idea of what happens when there's less planning, right? So here's the not the lit side, but the lighter side of the shadowed hat. And you can see all the other things are kind of in place. The hair goes in, the shadow side of the sweater goes in. But you'll see all the way through, I'm making very clear distinctions. There's the light hitting, just coming in sort of lightly from the window, but you can see very clear distinctions between lit side and dark side, say, of the jeans. That's that gradation on the wall. There's the shadow. And you see, if you get the temperature and the value shift right, it just sort of like begins to pop in terms of what the sunlight is doing. This is a painting on the wall, a still life my wife had done, and I just sort of blocked it in so that it kind of gave the sense of it. And the lit side and the dark side of the t-shirt, it was a little bit too light, and so I darkened it. But I'm sort of shifting it from gray to purple. I'm sort of getting these colors in there, and I wanted the face to pop a bit more, so I darken around it. But in the end, I scraped the whole head off and the hat off because it's all kind of stretched too high now. I meant to take a photograph when I scraped it off so you saw, but I just scraped everything right down, including the hair, and repainted it so it kind of came down. It's all kind of stretched out too far now, and the light coming in from the window, and then the light actually starting to hit things there on the shelf, and there's that sort of Buddha figure going in. And you can see by having the toned ground, you can be putting in the lights and starting to get a sense of something pretty quickly. And see how cool the shadows are relative to the, and then one hit of light gets it on the front. And then this is sort of drawing in. You see, it's all work. I can just draw now because I've got all values in there that are kind of approximating what I need, and just that line kind of hits it. There I'm doing the shadow side of the sculpture, and this is like a bottle of cleaner or something on the counter. I'm not sure what it is exactly. And I took that painting on the counter off as well because it just sort of blocked everything. Now look at these things where I'm just putting in a few darks and light, and there's the spout for the sink, and you realize painting is just drawing with a brush. You put in a couple of darks, you put in a couple of lights, just soften the bottom edge of that one, and you sort of like, oh, there we go. But it's just drawing with a brush. And the lit side of the two lemons sitting there. And then finally I'm now putting in the lit side of the sweater. But you can just see that by putting in the lights and the darks, there's a lot of paint on this brush. You may think like, well, how come he never has to get more paint on it? Because there's a lot of paint on there before I start. You just get still enough that I can just put a good thick wad of it there and get some in there. And, you know, you sort of wonder how I keep going, but it's just, then there's a shadow down reflected there, a little bit darker. It needs to go darker. I will go a little darker, but it's quite a strong reflection there. So all these different things are just kind of moving along a little bit here. There's kind of getting the plane of the hand, so it turns to the front, a little bit of reflection coming down into there, and then there's the finished painting. And now, here's the thing that's interesting. That's the finished painting. But at a certain point, I realized, again, because I didn't really plan it out, I just sort of wanted to go straight at it, I cut off a couple of inches on the left-hand side because I just felt it was a little too airy out on that side. And so there's the finished painting again, the way I cropped it. And I thought, well, at 16 by 18, I don't have a frame for it. What happens if I make it 16 by 16 and take an inch off each side? And now it feels kind of a little tight on the left-hand side. So there's the finished painting, but I will say it kind of creates an odd frame size. It's like, scratch my head, what am I going to do? I'm going to frame this one, and what happens if I never have another this size? So this is why this whole thing of planning, to my mind, makes a lot of sense. So by not planning, I ran into three problems. The first is I had to cut that 2-3 inches off the left-hand side, which may not seem like a big deal. I mean, there's lots of times when you just trim a painting because it'll work better. But it takes energy to be thinking and trying to solve the painting with sort of this dead weight on one side. And so the earlier you don't have to think about it, the easier. The second thing is I had to completely repaint the head, which if I'd gridded it, I would have had in a better proportion right from the start. And the third is I had this frame problem. I got a 16 by 18 painting and I don't have a frame for it. So there's so many things to think about when you're painting. It just seems to me you don't need like major elements that you need to solve at the same time you're trying to solve everything else. I mean, unexpected stuff is always coming up. But if you've got the big picture items in place and organize them beforehand, you'll find less problems when you're actually in the painting process. I mean, you always need to be flexible by what's happening on your picture plane as the painting develops. But I find I'm much looser and more confident when I know the plan and when I've got a map, so to speak. And I'm going to give you a link. It's the next, you can repeat, you can click on it and go to the next video. It should be right over there in a moment. And it's how to compose a painting, or how to compose a drawing, actually, in this case, of taking a photograph, analyzing it, doing a drawing for it, and quite a finished drawing, actually, to sort of see the structural issues that need to be addressed or could be addressed in advance of painting. And if you didn't, you could see how many issues you would run into if you hadn't taken care of them in advance. So I hope you enjoy that. So please do like the video if you did, and comment if you've got some comment. I'd love to get them. And please do subscribe, and you can sign up down below to join my email list and get this in your inbox every week. So I hope you have a fantastic week. I hope you get a chance to go out and paint, and I will see you on Tuesday. Bye for now.